Kurt Warner is an NFL Network analyst, and you can see him every Sunday on the NFL Game Day morning at 9 a.m. This week, Kurt will be part of the network's Thursday night football coverage, Rams-Niners. He'll be on the Craftsman Presents NFL Total Access kickoff pregame show starting at 6 p.m. Rams-Niners airs on the NFL Network Thursday night at 8. And really one of the storied quarterbacks of this generation, and he's done a very nice transition to the booth, and that is Kurt Warner. Kurt, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
Good, thank you. All right, a lot going on with quarterbacks. First of all, as you get to that game, people are breaking their legs jumping off the Kaepernick and RG3 bandwagons. Which one are you more concerned about, and why?
Wow. I think, the one thing with RG3 is you have to give him at least a little more time, coming off the ACL, not having any preseason, just kind of getting back into things. I'm giving him a pass for a while. I'm a little worried about not necessarily just Colin, but the offense of the 49ers is, when I look around at the weapons they have on the outside, they don't have anybody that's great at separating versus man coverage. And I think we've seen that a little bit more recently against Seattle. That's what they love to do. As good as Anquan Bolden is, he's not necessarily a shifty guy that is going to get huge separation. You got to be able to throw it, and he's great at catching things in traffic. But I look at this team, and, they don't have a lot of guys that can separate. And I think that's where Colin's struggling a little bit, is not a lot of separation, not trusting those guys sometimes and staying in the pocket and making his reads and throwing it, trying to get out of the edge a little bit too much. So I think they're in a real transition period right now, both Colin and this offense in general, and I'm interested to see where they move forward from here.
Kurt, this league always makes changes to help the offense because sooner or later the defenses, as good of athletes they have and sophisticated coaching they have, the defenses catch up to everything. And any coach you talked to this year in the offseason said they worked on stopping quarterback running games throughout the league. Some guys told me that's all they worked on in the offseason. Clearly, they've done a very good job because the quarterbacks are not running like they ran last year.
They're not, and they're not even taking the attempts that they did. I think, the idea of you saw a little bit enter into the league at the end of last year in the Super Bowl that it was, hey, if they're going to run this read option, we're going to hit the quarterback. And now a lot of teams are afraid of that, and rightfully so. You have so many dynamic young quarterbacks. You don't want them getting hit on every snap. And, as good as they are at making guys miss and avoiding the hits, now that defenses are saying to themselves, okay, we might give up a big run here or there, but we know where the quarterback is, and we're going to target him that if they're going to do this option, he's going to get hit every snap. And it changes the dynamic of, this thing that kind of comes in the league. Nobody expects it. Nobody really knows how to handle it. Now teams, like you said, have really focused in on, okay, this is your job. Hit him every time he makes that fake. And offensive teams aren't going to subject their quarterback to those kind of hits. And RG3 last year is a good example. Is dynamic when he was running the football, but he took a lot of hits and eventually wore him down, eventually leads to an injury. And those are the things that teams are going to avoid. And so, like you said, defenses force that envelope a little bit, and now offenses are having to change and counter that.
We're talking with Kurt Warner, NFL Network, and clearly the pocket passes, you know what? They just keep moving on. Luck is doing what he should do in the second year. Manning, look at the start Peyton Manning is off to. So here, Tom Brady, he has to get his weapons back, and he looked a little better in week 3. Breeze is doing his job. Aaron Rodgers is doing his job. So the big, prolific guys that we expect at the top are still, their games haven't been curtailed. Now, behind them, we got the two Manning 0-3 teams, Eli and Roethlisberger. Let's take them one at a time. Eli, you're the guy you helped break in, and a team right now that has no offensive line. What do you see with the Giants right now?
Well, yeah, I think that's the biggest key is offensive line struggles, which leads to the running struggles that they've had, which leads to more pressure on Eli Manning. And if you know Eli, he's a guy that has ultimate confidence in what he can do. and he's not going to back down from that challenge. But any quarterback that's put in that situation and that has that kind of confidence, they're going to keep chunking it and keep trying to make plays and keep trying to be the savior for their team. And, I've been in some of those situations where you try to do that. It is tough sledding in the National Football League to have to throw to win, when you're getting pressure and when you're not running the football. And, that's where Eli is right now. He makes plays, but he's also turning the ball over a lot because he's having to force things and he's having to do so much for this football team, and he's taking so much on his shoulders. And until he gets some relief, whether that's defense shutting people down or the offensive line shoring things up or running the football better, it's going to be tough. It is tough to win in this game when you have to throw all the time and you have to score points. I mean, look at the number of points they've given up. Even though I know a lot have been led from turnovers, they still haven't been able to keep teams out of the end zone. You're always playing catch-up. You're always throwing the ball. Very, very difficult. And I think it starts in the same place with Pittsburgh, is offensive line issues, lack of running game, the injuries they had in the running game has led to the same thing. They've fallen behind in games. They've had the pressure, putting a lot on Big Ben's plate. And again, you have guys that believe they can make plays, so you hold the ball, so you try to force the ball into situations, trying to make that big throw to spark your team. And, you miss by a little bit, and it's going the other direction, and games get ugly. And so I think both these teams are kind of in the same boat.